Thank you, Professor. I would like to introduce MykolasRomeris University Rector, Professor Inga Žalėnienė, and kindly ask our rector to say a few words in the context of this meaningful event.
Dear ministers, dear Vice President of RMIT University, dear professors, honorable guests and participants of a new Australian Lithuanian Cyber Network. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome you all to this exciting launching event. Today, on the Safer Internet Day, we are launching the Australian Lithuanian Cyber Network, an event organized by two partner universities from two different continents, by RMIT and MykolasRomeris universities, which is aimed to discuss the impact on state cyber affairs between like-minded partners, academia, and industry. First of all, I would like to mention, and on behalf of MykolasRomeris University academic community, to extend my sincere gratitude to Professor Matthew Warren, who has visited Lithuania and our university several times before. Professor Matthew Warren immensely contributed to the creation of this cyber network between our countries, which is the result of shared values and joint efforts of our people. In today's connected world, every person may explore vast benefits of the advanced cyber defense programs. Everything relies on critical infrastructure. The war in virtual space is not a fiction anymore, and is just as threatening to the society as the wars on the ground and seas. COVID-19 pandemic has moved an increasing number of people to remote work and learning. As a result, during the first year of the pandemic, the number of cyber incidents in Lithuania has grown by 25%. There is an urgent need for sustainable, trustworthy, and secure systems, as well as an ongoing demand to educate the public, the society, on the importance of cybersecurity. In the Global Cybersecurity Index, which was announced on June 29 by the United Nations International Telecommunication Union, Lithuania is ranked among the 10 leading countries. It is the 6th in the world and the 4th in Europe. Unfortunately, geopolitical tensions, authoritarian regimes, which are using various tools of hybrid threats, are producing new risks. The experts from our university participated in creating the cybersecurity strategy of Lithuania, successfully implemented lots of important national and European projects. Lithuanian academia, together with international and business partners, have established Lithuanian Cybercrime Center of Excellence for Training, Research and Education in 2013, which efficiently cooperates between academia, law enforcement institutions, and business, seeking to employ scientific knowledge in order to tackle a variety of cyber challenges. The Cybersecurity Management Master's Program at MykolasRomeris University is possessing a great popularity in Lithuania and regionally. The need to strengthen the cyber resilience motivates our students, our researchers, our academics to collaborate and to share experiences within the connected communities, which goes far beyond the national borders and calls for a strong partnership with like-minded international allies. We are in constant need of cyber threat research, analysis of new emerging threats, and I am confident that the Australian Lithuanian Cyber Network will create, consolidate, develop and disseminate capacities and contribute to the analysis of cybersecurity threats, trends, and challenges. Congratulations to everyone involved in the creation of Australian Lithuanian Cyber Network. I very much look forward to further development and success. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the speech, Your Excellency. And for the next introductory speech, I would like to invite the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Lithuania, Gabrielius Landsbergis, who is currently in Melbourne, to visit our partners at RMIT University and Cybersecurity Center. Thank you, Minister, for coming to our event and paying attention to the current issues of cybersecurity.
Well, thank you so much, dear friends and colleagues. Indeed, it's a great day that Lithuania is presenting itself in Melbourne with all the possibilities for the future cooperation. We talk about politics, about economy, about foreign direct investment possibilities, about supply chain resilience, and we're not leaving cybersecurity out of picture. Opportunities are created, some of the opportunities are created by chance, some of them are created by design, and some of them are created by necessity. We consider cybersecurity as the one that is created by necessity. Lithuania being what we call a front state between democracies and non-democratic countries in Europe, has faced hybrid threats for more than a decade. At first, we called it crisis management. With time, it became a capacity and a competence that we're willing to share. Recently, we found that we became an interest of another global actor, also with its cyber activity in our country. And this is a new phase for our defenders of our cyber zone. And I think this is exactly the right time when we exchange notes, when we exchange the experiences of what we had with different actors, and that try to assess our capabilities of defense. And I think that there's a lot that we can teach one another, and there is a lot that we can learn from one another. So I'm convinced that it is a great opportunity and a great start for something that will last decades in the future. So thank you.
Thank you very much for the meaningful speech. And for the next speech, I would like to invite Vice Minister of Defense of the Republic of Lithuania, Margiris Abukevičius. We know that NATO events will take place this week, and you are very busy, so thank you for your time to take a brief look at Lithuanian cybersecurity situation. So the floor is yours, please.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for inviting to participate in this event, which is, as Minister said, important, I think, in building practical also cooperation on cyber security and defense. And when we think about Indo-Pacific, I think Indo-Pacific for us, it is as a new world, and we are building economic, political, security relations, or looking forward to build those relations, and cyber definitely is part of that picture, and that is a very practical, as it was mentioned already, that is a very practical interest, because in Lithuania we have been facing mostly Russian cyber activities. Russia definitely is a major malicious cyber actor in Lithuania, but now more and more we see Chinese malicious activity in cyber field. And in order to be better prepared to respond to that, we really need those new partnerships. Because when it comes to Russia, we know how they operate, what they target. It's mostly cyber espionage. It is cyber-enabled disinformation campaigns. It's in some cases even some disruptive activities in cyber field. And not only in Lithuania, but in the region, in a wider region in Eastern Europe. But when it comes to Chinese activities, we really are not sure what is the modus operandi of their activity. And that's why we really need to develop and to build partnerships with countries in the Indo-Pacific, which has been living under pressure, cyber pressure from China for many years. And in this context, since I mentioned that we are really looking for a very practical cooperation way to cooperate, I would like to promote one recently established, and I know that today we're launching a Australian Lithuanian cyber network. But last year we have created a regional cyber defense center in Lithuania, which when we started to build it, it was really focused on countering Russia cyber activities, and that's why we have on board Ukraine, Georgia, US, and Lithuania, 4 countries, and very much focused on Russia. But now with additional element with more activities coming from China, we really see that this platform is a great opportunity to also involve partners from Indo-Pacific and to have a very comprehensive view on how to counter Russian, but also Chinese cyber activities. So I'm flagging this as an initiative which is already operational, and one of the main pillars is to work on cyber threat assessments and analysis. And if will be an interest from Australian side, but we're talking to other partners in the region, we would really see this platform as a very useful platform to cooperate. The other aspect I really wanted to bring to this discussion today, and what it was already mentioned by the Minister, supply chain security. And for us, when it comes to cyber security, this is a key priority, the key priority for the new government. There were very concrete decisions on our side when it comes to 5G, and that was a global campaign to really ensure that we build our 5G networks only working with trusted suppliers. But we are moving beyond that. We really think that we should look beyond the telecommunications sector, and we should ensure that when it comes to supply chains or procurements of critical infrastructure, state institutions, and so on, we really have to again cooperate and work only with trusted suppliers and manufacturers. And this is a topic we are really trying to promote within the EU, but those global partnerships going beyond EU and NATO can definitely help to promote that narrative. And in this context, again, I would like to mention one very concrete example, that we are not only looking into legislative part. We are not only talking about it, but we are also trying to go down to the equipment and see what risk it poses to those who are using it. And I believe that you heard about the recent security analysis by our National Cybersecurity Center on Chinese mobile phones. Before that, we presented an analysis on Chinese manufactured cameras. And this is, again, a very concrete area where we are looking for partnerships to build cooperation between centers which has R&D capacity, which are looking into the issues of security of certain IT equipment and so on. So this is important for our government, and I think we can have a very concrete deliverables in that field. And I will probably stop and end this introduction by again emphasizing that we are very much internationally minded. We have a lot of we're leading a number of initiatives within EU and NATO, but we are definitely ready to go beyond those traditional framework, beyond our traditional partners, and to establish new cooperations, including with Australia. There is one initiative already where we are together. This is a recently launched US counter ransomware initiative where we have Australia on board, a number of like-minded countries on board, Lithuania as well. And I think those like-minded type initiatives, or even sometimes bilateral initiatives going beyond traditional frameworks, can really enhance our cyber resilience and cyber defense. And last but not least, of course, I'm really happy that that today we have initiative from the academic field, from universities, and I'm looking forward to see how universities could also what they could bring to this cooperation and in very practical sense contribute to Lithuanian and Australian partnership in cybersecurity. So thanks a lot. I really hope today's discussions will bring some very concrete and interesting ideas to follow up, and I'm looking to next or future possibilities also to talk in this or similar frameworks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Vice Minister, for the speech and very valuable insights. And I give the floor, pass the floor to Professor Matthew Warren.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone to RMIT and welcome our guests who have come to RMIT University for the first time. And I'd like to welcome His Excellency Minister Gabrielius Landsbergis, the Lithuanian Minister of Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Darius Dugaris, Lithuanian Ambassador to Australia, and Andrew Comston from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. So good evening from Melbourne, good morning from Vilnius. Today, Tuesday the 8th of February marks Safer Internet Day, a global day to look at cyber safety, and it seemed a very appropriate day to launch the Australian-Lithuanian Cyber Network. So it's a great honour to have Your Excellency here today. I'm not sure if you noticed when you came to RMIT, we're actually flying the Lithuanian flag over RMIT today in acknowledgement of your visit today, the first time we've done that in RMIT's long history. So it's a great honour to acknowledge you visiting us today. I would also like to acknowledge the students at MykolasRomeris University, the cybersecurity students who actually are sitting in their class watching this event from Melbourne in Vilnius. So wonderful to have your students here with us today, talking about these events that we face in regards to cyber security. So in terms of today, we have a number of distinguished guests who have presented. We have an industry panel with representatives from the Australian and Lithuanian cyber industry, talking about the challenges in regards to innovation, industry, research and development. What I would like to do is to ask Professor Julie Cogan, who is the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the College of Business and Law and Vice President here at RMIT, to say a few words and to undertake the acknowledgement of country. Julie.
Good evening and good morning. Welcome to those present, and for those who are joining us online, we're really pleased to have you here at RMIT. I'd like to join Professor Warren and giving my special welcome to our distinguished guests. So my name is Julie Cogan. I'm the Deputy Vice Chancellor and Vice President at RMIT, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here for the launch of the Australian Lithuanian Cyber Network. Now, we regard this as a really exciting collaborative initiative between RMIT University in Australia and MykolasRomeris University in Lithuania. And in Australia, as a sign of respect, we do begin events with an acknowledgement of country. And it recognises the land that we stand on was originally inhabited and belonged to Indigenous peoples. So RMIT University acknowledges the people of the Woiwurrung and Burrung language groups of the Eastern Kulin nations, on whose unceded land we conduct the business of the university. And we acknowledge and respectfully their ancestors past, present and emerging. RMIT also acknowledges the traditional custodians and their ancestors of the lands and waters across Australia where we conduct our business. And I want to take this moment to tell you a little bit about RMIT. We're Australia's largest multi-sector university, and we're ranked in the top 1% of universities in the world. We're a global university with 3 campuses in Vietnam, partnerships in Singapore, China and Hong Kong, and with a presence in Europe through RMIT Europe, which is based in Barcelona. At RMIT, we embrace change, innovation, technology and partnerships to create positive and sustainable impact where it matters. We collaborate with industry and government to share knowledge, close skill gaps, innovate industries and find solutions to real problems that shape the world for the better. Our world-class educators are really something we're very, very proud of, and they're at the forefront of their fields and apply their research discoveries, industry judgment and specialist expertise to make our programs and activities relevant, leading edge and impactful. We have a long history. We're more than 130 years old, a long history of firsts when it comes to cyber security. During the 1990s, RMIT was one of only 2 cyber security national research centres in Australia. And in the year 2000, RMIT was the first Australian university to offer a Masters in International Cybersecurity. Now we just call it a Masters in Cybersecurity. In 2019, RMIT Online was the first education provider in Australia to develop joint cybersecurity courses in direct partnership with industry. And RMIT University Centre for Cybersecurity Research and Innovation, CCSRI, which we fondly call it, was launched in 2020 and is a multidisciplinary research centre that draws on researchers from across the university, all of our schools and colleges globally to bring truly multidisciplinary approach to the organisation, human and technology aspects of cybersecurity. It really is a multidisciplinary issue and challenge that we all deal with. So the centre's inaugural director is Professor Matt Warren, sitting right in front of you, and he'll be co-chairing this launch. I want to personally thank Matt for everything he has done so far to really build our expertise and reputation in this field. Now, the centre has been building global recognition, launching last year a research hub in Vietnam, and I'm pleased to see the centre extends its reach into Europe through the Australian Lithuanian Cyber Network. And I look forward to seeing the impact and successes of this network and by us working together as partners in the future. I'll now hand back to our host, Professor Darius Datilis, to introduce our next guest. Thank you.
Thank you. And according to agenda, I want to introduce Australian representative Andrew Comston, if I am right.
Thank you, and I'd like to begin by also acknowledging the traditional owners of the land and any Indigenous people that might be present. I've heard the Minister speak twice already today, and he speaks frankly and eloquently and off the cuff, so I will try to do the same, although I won't do it nearly as well. Firstly, it is my great pleasure. I'm the first Australian government representative in a public forum to welcome from the Foreign Minister to Australia. Thank you. This is not your first time in Australia, but is your first time in your current role, and we're so grateful that you're here. So thank you. Secondly, I'd like to make a point about the relationship with Lithuania, which it is multi-dimensional, it is growing and it is deepening. It started in broad terms, the ballast of the relationship has been the approximately 16,000 Lithuanians that live throughout Australia, but it has been growing. The formal diplomatic relations started 30 years ago, and it's been accelerating recently with the opening of the embassy last year and the appointment of a permanent ambassador, which is a very dynamic presence and has already made himself felt in Canberra and also in Melbourne. So it's a relationship that's dynamic, it's growing, and the talks that are coming up in Canberra tomorrow, I know are quite substantive, and I won't go into them in great depth, but I will say that the underpinning point of them is our shared values, our belief in a rules-based order, in democracy, in free trade, and I must register, Minister, our deep appreciation for your support for the Europe-Australia FTA, and we hope for a speedy resolution of it, but we know you are a strong supporter, both personally and nationally, so we are deeply grateful for that. And so the talks tomorrow we hope will continue to build and look for combined strategies we can do so we can live in a rules-based order, so nation states, both small and large, can live free of coercion to pursue their national interest. And secondly, and this is my only other point, is to thank RMIT for its amazing international engagement. It is one of the most global of Australia's universities. We at DFAT really value the relationship. We love coming here, and this cybersecurity initiative, I think, is an example of the very relevant, cutting edge, and very useful to government initiatives that RMIT has, and this is just one of many. I could speak for hours about the scope and breadth of the RMIT's international engagement. So thank you for your overall engagement, and thank you for today's event.
And now I want to present our initiatives with colleagues from Australia. Together with team of Professor Matthew Warren, Australian Lithuanian Cyber Research Network. Cybersecurity can be treated as part of national security, and cyber attacks and discrimination, disinformation or propaganda have become activity of well-organized groups. And these activities focus on critical infrastructure, public sector, digital service providers. Some of the attacks have a geopolitical context in Australia as well in Lithuania, despite the fact that Lithuania is in the top of 10 of the world ITU cybersecurity rating, and Australia also has a high ranking position. It's necessary to continue to carry research and develop cybersecurity strategies, also to disseminate the knowledge. We hope that MRU and the RMIT Cyber Research Network will help us to focus expertise and to achieve significant result in this area. The geopolitical context forces us to look for partnerships. Lithuania, for example, is a member of NATO and has strong support in terms of cybersecurity. Lithuania, together with other EU countries, has been organizing cybersecurity exercises for several years, which help to prepare for possible cyber attacks, including hybrid attacks. In official documents such as cybersecurity strategy and national security strategy, Lithuania already identify hybrid cybersecurity threats. However, as an attack becomes more professional, a new approach must be constantly sought based on the practices of other countries and regions. And Australia also has valuable experience and a distinctive approach in this context. Therefore, we see a great potential for Australian-Lithuanian cooperation. We believe in this initiative with RMIT University Cybersecurity Center. The initiative brings together researchers on cyber from Australia and Lithuania. As we can see in the slide, this initiative will focus on joint research funding applications, conferences, seminars, industry consultancy, and etc. Also, we hope this virtual international research collaboration platform will attract also other partners as well. This initiative is open, so we invite other partners to join with the initiatives. So Professor Matthew Warren, could you please continue and make an announcement of the first initiative?
Thank you, Darius. The first initiative that we would like to announce regarding the cyber network is the Australian Lithuanian Hybrid Threat Observatory. The aim of this observatory is to undertake joint research looking at hybrid threats and how they impact Australia and Lithuania, as well as looking at the impact it has upon society and organizations. Also, reflecting on our country's critical infrastructure, including democratic institutions, and how hybrid threats can impact that. As part of this initiative, we're going to develop a joint seminar series and also undertake the writing of leadership articles to raise awareness of hybrid threats in an Australian and Lithuanian context. I would now like to invite Lydia to welcome our industry panel speakers for our next part of this event.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear Professor. I'm Lydia. Thank you very much, dear Professor. I'm Lydia Kraujalienė from MykolasRomeris University, and I'm happy about two new initiatives heard today about new launch of a new network and new laboratory. And now we're moving to the panel discussion with the cyber industry from Lithuania and Australia, and I'm happy to invite Jurgana Winzer. Jurgana Winzer is a partner in the enterprise advisory cyber business based out of Sydney, Australia, and she's also a member of Australian Information Security Association National Board. Also, I'm happy to invite Mindaugas Ubartas from Infobalt Association. He is a director of Infobalt, Digitech Sector National Association, intended to create the best conditions for technology application, market development, and export. And it's a National Information and Communication Technology Sector Association in Lithuania, the biggest one, creating conditions for the growth of the ICT industry. I'm happy to invite Dr. David Cook. He's a vice president of academic boards at the Australian Computer Society and is the honorary secretary of the Western Australian branch of Australian Computer Society, and also is a lecturer and researcher in the School of Science at Edith Cogan University in Australia. Also, I'm happy to invite Miroslav Luchinsky from DCCS company. He's a general manager of joint stock company Critical Security, established from 2007 by a group of cybersecurity enthusiasts. And the main activities of this company are security of information technologies and cyber security consulting. And also want to invite Professor Matthew Warren to moderate this discussion and to provide some questions and moderate this panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Lydia, for the introduction. I wonder, with the panel, I wonder if we can start to explore some of the issues and challenges in relation to cybersecurity, and where I want to start is, how do you think organizations can foster a culture of cybersecurity? And what I may do is just sort of throw this over, to our Australian representatives first, and then throw it over to our Lithuanian representatives to highlight those sort of cultural sort of differences that exist between our two countries. So with this one, as I said, I'll start with the Australian representatives. So Gagana and David, what do you think about this question?
Thanks, Matt. So look, I think one of the most important components of sharing a cybersecurity culture is the sharing part. It relies on communication at a completely different level than what we've had before. And if we talk about the way in which different organisations come together, if we talk about it from a critical infrastructure protection scenario, then obviously we can get the very large companies to come together. But as we share it into some of the smaller groups, particularly if we look at small business even, the idea of gathering, literally hundreds of thousands of companies together to share a culture is a very difficult thing to do. The other part that clearly underpins this is the way in which different businesses have a different appetite for risk. So if they have a different appetite for risk, they will have a different culture in the way that they go about protecting themselves and their customers. And so one of the key problems for a very diverse information technology driven business society and industry is this coming together with an agreed understanding. So I really think they're the key problems. But one last thing before I pass on to Gagana is that it all comes with the right leadership. In large companies, we're worried about the ability of the CEO, of the C-suite, of the people who are in charge to have that balance between a risk appetite to do more business online, as opposed to perhaps an understanding of the required observational tactics and cybersecurity mechanisms in place, because all of the staff that work and interact underneath that leadership may not have the same shared appetite for risk and action.
Thank you. Gagana.
Thank you very much, Martin, and really good points. David, you've pretty much covered everything. One last thing I feel like adding would be to think about culture from the standpoint of collaboration, and the way we collaborate internally in the organizations will determine what the culture would look like. So from that perspective, probably it's a good idea to start thinking of cyber not as a cost center, but as something vital and important, such as the operations team, so such as the financial office team. And so cyber becomes an important part of how organizations are going to be successful in the future. And indeed is going to dictate the way they're going to, work with each other between the different departments. And when it comes down to culture, one important thing is the human engagement. So how do we engage with our executives if we work in the cybersecurity departments, as an example? Are we able to educate them? Because it's a shared responsibility. Of course, the leaders are going to make the decisions and to carry the responsibility, but eventually, if they're not educated properly by the people they hired and they trust, nothing's really going to move forward. So this is what I felt like adding.
Excellent. Thank you. And really, that gives it from an Australian perspective. I wonder if we pass over to our Lithuanian colleagues, and what do you think from an Australian side, from a Lithuanian perspective, how organisations can foster a culture of cybersecurity? So, Miroslav, I wonder if you may share your thoughts.
Yes, thank you for Australian colleagues for sharing their insights about fostering the cybersecurity culture in the organization. I think I can only agree with what has been told, and I think even though our countries are on different continents, but you know, the topics and means we use to enable organizations to have their cybersecurity culture is similar. And I think not only the culture, the cybersecurity understanding should come from the top, and also enable people to you know, to contribute to the overall organizational security. So this is, I think, quite important that also we are not relying only on one thing, like the human interaction or the technology alone. So it's always a combination of factors, of different you know, scenarios, because each organization, would it be public or private organization, they can be different. And so there is obviously no one fits all solution here. So yeah, that would be maybe my insight.
Thank you. And Mindaugas, with your experience with Infobot, what's your view based upon the organizations you work with and organizations that you see?
Basically, I agree with what was said, and the view is very simple. The IT organizations on the supply side, they are all ringing the bell and saying, look, cybersecurity is very important. Let's do something about it. Let's keep our network safe, equipment safe. Let's train the people. And then when we see from demand side, from the small companies or even big companies, sometimes the cybersecurity question is not on the management board or on the top of the CEO mind. He's thinking how to do the cash flow management, how to finance the business, how to sell. So, but we should, you know, will provide a simplistic view. We are a very nice company here. And let's look to another industries which has solved the issues. Car insurance industry. Yeah, they said if you leave your keys in the car and the documents, your insurance is not working. They also said that if you are a driver and you are driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol, your insurance is not working. So I believe with cybersecurity question, we will need to find a common approach, because that's a common threat. Even if a small company is being breached, it can breach quite a big supply chain. It can breach quite a big information flow chain. So we will come at the end with the help of universities, with the help of the industry, as well with the help of the government, that there will be not only advices how to keep yourself safe, but there will be some sticks also attached to another end, like with insurance, that we need to make sure that in today's world, which is a real-time economy world, nobody falls apart. And here, cooperation, communication will play a critical role.
Excellent. No, thank you. Thank you for all of those responses, and it really sort of highlights, those sort of technical, organization, and human aspects. The next question I want to pose just to the Lithuanian panel members, and we hear a lot about cyber warfare and the Internet of Things in the context of hybrid wars. From a Lithuanian context, do you think hybrid risks are a real concern? So I may start with Miroslav.
Yes, thank you for the question. I think it's quite interesting topic. I mean, you know, in regards of cyber wars, I think everybody would prefer just not to fight them, but the reality is such that these things are happening and then they have to be addressed. So basically, what we also learn from the various data available by the cyber professionals that often IoT devices, those IoT meaning Internet of Things devices, are getting compromised, and usually they are treated in a way that those are, you know, just like basically nowadays becoming like home appliances, and they are just connected to the global networks, and their basically their security is rather low because they are usually thought of like not a real computer, not a threat. So I also noticed, I read through Australian national cybersecurity strategy, and my observation was that Australia is recognizing the threat of IoT devices, and that there are risks associated with them. So I think this is something that Lithuanian side could also take an example of, and maybe address those things in Lithuanian way. So this is basically again about sharing information and you know, learning the good examples from each other.
Thank you. And Mindaugas, what's your view? What do you see from a Lithuanian context, the issue around hybrid threats?
As our foreign minister said, we are living on the edge or on the border between two different civilizations of the democratic world and the autocratic world. And we find our friends going west quite far away till going around the globe and meeting Australia. You know, if we go east, there is not many friends from our border. So we are living in the constant hybrid threat. But when I'm talking in the hybrid threat, it means the informational threat that people start disbelieving what they see, and at the same time adding the cybersecurity threat when the governmental or local let's say municipality system stops working, then you know that could bring a panic and into the public's head. So we are seeing very big, let's say, threat in this, and we are not proud saying, but we had one municipality which has lost control of their water supply and sewage supply a couple of years ago in the second biggest city. So imagine that you don't have, imagine the situation if you don't have water, you don't have food, you don't, and then somebody starts saying that there is a, I don't know, military actions on the border, people start fleeing away, and so on. So this combination of information threat, information miscommunication threat, and IT or cybersecurity threat is our daily work, and we should look how to prevent ourselves. Recent events in Ukraine in January 2014, when we know that this military heat is going up in that region, they had a cyber attack which governmental authorities lost their systems. So if that would be combined with the military actions, that would immediately start a panic in the society. In 2008, we had another country, Estonia, neighboring us, which was blackouted from the internet on the massive DDoS attack. So nothing worked. So it's a daily life we are facing.
Thank you. And I think what you've highlighted is the unique situation in Lithuania, and that's a situation we don't necessarily face in Australia. So the next question is actually to our Australian panel members, and that is, in an Australian context, how do you think the partnership between government and industry is dealing with the cybersecurity threats that Australia face? And I may just start with Gagana, just because of your sort of industry role, professionally and job-wise, that you have a sort of a real sort of hands-on view of what's happening in this domain.
Thank you very much, Matt. Well, I can start by saying that there's always room for improvement. Just to be realistic on the topic, we can always collaborate better with government. We can always put together different and better structures to empower industry, to empower small, medium organizations, large enterprise, critical infrastructure, you name it, with better controls, with better support when it comes down to cybersecurity. There's always room for improvement. That said, there has been major successes and major new things happening in Australia over the last few years. The critical infrastructure bill has come into effect. There are a few other things that have happened as well. In 2014, we have introduced a new Australian privacy principles legislation, which is absolutely very, very useful. And although it has been considered by many not aggressive enough, it still has given us a framework to start from somewhere to protect personal information data of our citizens and improve from there, so build on top of that. I guess one of the things that we could improve on and do better is by collaborating a little bit better with government in protecting the small medium enterprises. And I think that's something that someone mentioned already from the panel today. And yes, those will be definitely a huge improvement for us, because they do represent a weak link for our supply chain, and they also represent the major part of our economy. And so we have to pay attention to them. And from my understanding, I can't share obviously too much information, but there are a number of initiatives that are going to come out of industry, that are going to come out from the education sector. There's a number of universities that are doing research and are opening different hubs about the topic, as well as government agencies trying to protect that particular part of our economy. So I think we're moving in the right direction. Are we fast enough? I don't know. We're going to have to live and see. As I said, there will be always room for improvement, but we are moving in the right direction. And I'd like to think that Australia is towards achieving a goal of becoming one of the most cyber resilient countries in the world. That will be definitely what I stand for and what I fight for on a daily basis. So,
excellent, thank you. And I'll pass over to David to share your thoughts on this issue.
Yeah, so I agree with everything that Gagana said, but obviously the weak link here is small business, because small business is fragmented and it has so many individual components. It's all about getting training at the fragmented level. And I suspect the real challenge is to try and make people want to become cyber secure. And what I mean by that is we have to make Australian business, whether it's small business, medium or large scale enterprise, to want to be able to demonstrate that they are cyber secure businesses, that they can almost demonstrate with pride, a badge, if you like, something to say, we are secure, you can trust us, you can use us, because that's what's missing from the current landscape. If we can get that to happen, we already do that with one or two large scale enterprises that go to great lengths. Obviously, those in the IT sector go to great lengths, but greater, wider business, particularly small business, still has a long way to go to want to show off with pride that they're cyber secure. And that is the key to doing that. Now, we already see that with the JCSC, with government, in what they're doing to industry, and that's at the larger, more critical infrastructure, large scale enterprise. Passing that down the stream to the medium and small businesses is the key to matching this issue.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm afraid time is against us. I think we could be talking for hours about these issues from an Australian and Lithuanian context. I'm just going to now pass to Lydia to end this session of the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the all the industry representatives in this panel discussion. And now we're running to the final part, it's closing remarks. And I want to invite Professor Darius Titilius from MykolasRomeris University and Matthew Warren from RMIT University to provide some comments and final remarks of this event. So please. Please.
Thank you. It's time for our final remarks, and thank you, of course, all for your discussions and comments and insights. The issue of cybersecurity seems to have no borders and is relevant to all the stakeholders. And cybersecurity, as we see, become important part of public security. It's daily life even. We believe that our Australian and Lithuanian Cyber Research Network initiative will contribute to safer society in Australia as well as in Lithuania and abroad. Thanks again to everyone, and maybe I pass for a few final remarks to Professor Matthew.
Thank you, Darius. Again, you know, at the beginning, I mentioned that today is Safer Internet Day, and really, when we talk about safety, it's all forms of safety in terms of technology and people and society, and I think that this is one of the aims of the network, is to undertake research and other cyber activities to try to make the use of cyber safer in Australia and Lithuania. So as we said with our announcements, we'll be planning sort of future events and activities and seminars. So I hope that the audience will be able to take part in those future activities. And I'd just like to thank all the speakers who have been part of this joint event between MykolasRomeris University and RMIT University, and the fact that we've been able to do this in real time in Australia and Lithuania just really highlights you know, how the technology has developed to such a stage. Finally, I'd like to thank Gabby Kincotta from RMIT University for all the organisation and planning that she's put into this event. Thank you all, and I hope you all have a good evening or a good morning.